The tale begins in the hush that precedes awakening, in the barely perceptible pause between one era's last breath and the next era's first. In that pause, if you stood at the right bend of the river and pressed an ear to the earth, you would hear a tremor like glass scraped across glass. The grandparents of your grandparents called it the stirring of the crystal cicadas, creatures spun out of quartz veins and the patient percussion of subterranean tides. They sleep longer than dynasties reign, longer than languages survive, and when they rise, they sing only once. Their song is neither melody nor roar. It is a blade made of resonance. It slices through the illusions that civilizations drape over themselves. Illusions of permanence, of righteousness, of having tamed mystery. It has happened 4 times that anyone remembers, and the 5th loosens its shadow over the present. Stories of the earlier risings may differ in detail, but in every corner of the world, the record keepers agree on 2 points. First, the cicada's crystalline wings are translucent enough to let starlight pass unmuddied. Second, no falsity can withstand their chorus. Each retelling begins exactly where the previous one ended, amid rubble and revelation, eyes forced open by a choir older than arrogance. Question 1. The Age of Copper. The first known song came when the world was fresh with copper stains and ambition. The city of Tarsa, pride of the riverlands, had learned to pull copper from the hills and hammer it into gods. Tarsans sheathed every pillar with plates that caught the sun and reflected it back upon those who approached the gates, so that visitors walked beneath an illusion of endless dawn. Priests declared that the reflection was proof the gods loved Tarsa best, for day never truly died there. The illusions went deeper than mere shine. Hungry for dominion, the high artificer Norum Coil constructed lenses ground from river quartz, embedding them in watchtowers to bend light and project images of phantom armies marching along the horizon. Traders approaching by road saw regiments that did not exist and surrendered Taris before setting foot in the market district. Nearby clans believed the vision and signed treaties they never would have considered had their eyes not been fooled. An empire built itself on reflections and refractions. Ishrin, the false-seer scribe, astronomer, stubborn collector of truths, kept her private doubt. She mapped constellations, then marked the points where the phantom armies should have landed if they were real. The soil remained untouched. She warned the Senate that lenses could not bury corpses nor harvest wheat, but her voice drowned beneath the thunder of copper drums. Then, one dawn that felt oddly brittle, Ishrin heard the grinding murmur underfoot. In the mines above the river, roots snapped as tunnels shifted. Miners fled, shouting of diamond locusts. At the 7th hour, the cicadas surfaced. They were smaller than legends promised, each the length of a grown man's finger, but their bodies caught sunlight and refracted it into 1,000 fractured shards. When they sang, air itself seemed pressed against an unseen anvil. The copper plates on Tarsa's pillars buckled, concave where they had once been convex. The quartz lenses burst like soap bubbles. Along the roads outside the city, illusions scattered. The phantom legions dissolved into mist, leaving the hills bare. Panic followed, then truth. Tributary clans stormed the gates, no longer cowering before invisible soldiers. Surian stood amid toppled lenses and recorded the event with ink that smelled of bitter fennel. The cicadas have broken Tarsa's mirror. The gods do not live here. Only we do, fallible and frightened. Though the city burned, she felt lighter. Across the realm, people remembered that reflections cannot till soil or forge iron. Reality was harsher than illusion, yet it could be met eye to eye. 2. The age of silk centuries ripened into myth, and the world learned new artistry. Across the eastern archipelago stretched the dominion of looms, whose fleets braided trade routes as deftly as their weavers braided silk. The dominion mastered not merely cloth, but narrative. Silk banners dyed with alchemical pigments floated over every harbour, shifting colour in response to wind and angle of gaze. The effect kept citizens enthralled. Each banner displayed exactly what a viewer wished to see: victory, prosperity, a face they adored. Marin Quo, imperial dramatist, perfected consensus pageantry. With coordinated lantern fog and mirrored barges, she made the very sea glitter with choreographed shapes. Legends say an entire generation forgot the difference between water and story. Fisher folk stopped fishing. Why haul nets when a banner already promised unending bounty? Farmers let rice paddies choke with reeds because the cloth overhead shimmered with images of full granaries. Not everyone succumbed. A former court physician named Sanjiro, exiled for claiming Empress Qian's health was failing, collected journals from villages where hunger crept behind the curtains of spectacle. He stored them in earthen jars lined with charcoal, to keep mould at bay, waiting for a force stronger than his solitary warnings. It came on a windless night. The sky held no moon, ideal dark for illusions to rule, when the crystal cicadas burrowed up through the palace pond. Their wings struck lantern-lit air like hammers on bells. The banners convulsed, pigments dripping away to reveal plain, unbleached silk. On ships, mirrored barges cracked, sending slivers cascading into the harbour. The sound of the cicadas sliced through Marin Quo's final pageant, shattering every orchestrated reflection until spectators stood amid raw emptiness, hungry, weak, confused. Empress Qian, glimpsing her actual face in a shard of mirror pallid, fever-stained, collapsed. Sanjiro stepped from exile to treat her, and the Empress lived long enough to sign decrees dismantling the pageant guilds. She died with open eyes, aware at last of her own mortality. In the Dominion, new banners rose, undecorated, pale but honest, flapping in unadorned wind. 3. The age of glass-deep deserts cradles secrets, because sand remembers fire. From such sand, the city of Nur Kala birthed its age of glass towers. Architects blew molten sheets into forms so thin they bent with desert heat, creating corridors of refracted daylight. Their greatest invention was the Verity Prism, a colossal spire that captured sunlight and split it into beams carrying encoded illusions. Whoever stepped within the prism saw personal utopia, a child long lost, ambitions fulfilled, fields forever fertile. It was therapy, religion, governance, and entertainment fused. An order of glass mages, the Heliotex, maintained the prism, believing salvation depended on regulated fantasy. Inside, crime plummeted, dissent faded, and desert storms felt less brutal to citizens lulled by comforting visions. Some scholars argued the illusions promoted peace. Others whispered that people who surrendered their grip on reality became pliant as molten glass. Tova Meris, scavenger of forgotten ores, first noticed cracks forming at the prism's foundation. Heat cycles had been longer than forecast. She ventured beneath the city where support struts groaned like whales stranded on stone. There she found crystal casings, transparent but unmistakably organic, lining the bedrock cicada husks from ages earlier. Their resonance had been absorbed, she realized, serving as counterpoint to the prism's frequencies. With enough pressure, the song would replay. The Heliotex dismissed her. They pointed to decades of tranquility as evidence of triumph. Tova, unwilling to abandon her suspicion, etched warnings on copper tablets, a tribute to half-remembered Tarsa, and distributed them to caravan routes. Not many listened. The cicadas erupted the next solstice. Glass walkways chimed in sympathetic vibration as the song swelled. Citizens lounging in private fantasies watched their utopias warp, then pop like bubbles touched by flame. The prism burst into a fountain of glitter so bright it left halos on every retina. Shattered illusions rained upon desert sand, each shard reflecting not paradise but stark blue sky, empty and real. Nur Kala's people staggered into that sky, blinking. Some screamed, others wept, yet a few, Tova among them laughed. They could feel sweat, heat, hunger again, senses sharpened. They built shade shelters, relearned to read wind off dunes, and discovered that communities bound by shared hardship outweighed the comfort of solitary hallucination. The desert remained unforgiving, but it was honest. 4. The Age of Smoke. If glass can be molded, smoke can be sculpted, so proclaimed the engineers of Halloween centuries later. They forged smokestacks that funneled factory exhaust into vats of electrostatic charge, solidifying it into mem smoke. Wisps that obeyed programming. Government orators unleashed it in public squares, where it wove pictures out of haze, prosperity reports, heroic retellings of recent wars, assurances that the air itself was safer than skeptics claimed. Halloween's greatest illusion was invisibility. Mem smoke saturated the horizon until citizens could no longer see the skyscrapers of coal residue rising above them. The city boomed, ignorant that lungs clogged slowly. Zure. Convirel, archivist of previously shattered ages, anticipated the pattern. He had traced the cicadas' migrations on brittle star maps and calculated that their next emergence aligned with Halloween's Quatercentennial Festival, the day mem smoke would be thickest. Cone's grandmother had been a weaver in the dominion of looms. His blood knew the tyranny of spectacle. He joined Maeve Hark, a street medic who treated coughs officials labelled imagined. Together they tried disseminating pamphlets titled When the Smoke Disperses, but mem smoke devoured paper, rendering words illegible. So they spoke to children at night markets, teaching lullabies about breathing clean air, songs that happened coincidentally to match the harmonic overtones Cohen believed the cicadas used. When the festival commenced, fireworks split the smog into rainbow throbs. Under the central plaza, vibrations rose. Crystal cicadas, their wings dulled by layers of soot, fought upward, cleansing themselves in shafts of light from the explosions. They sang, and the song harmonized with the lullabies echoing through alleyways. Mem smoke convulsed like an animal pierced through the heart. Images of propaganda shattered. The real city emerged ash on brick, iron skeletons, rivers turned tar. Panicked officials cried sabotage, but their voices rasped. Truth scraped every throat. The populace, coughing yet unmasked by deceit, demanded breathing space. They dismantled smokestacks, peeled soot from statues, planted rooftop moss to sieve remaining toxins. For decades, Halloween coughed out its lies, until dawn again smelt of rain rather than coal. 5. The interstice is the vessel from America. From these 4 risings of the cicadas came a canon of cautionary myths, carved onto stone rings known as the quadrant tablets, 1 per age. Scholars, wandering mendicants and smugglers protected the tablets from tyrants who would break them. Fathers whispered to daughters, when a thing feels too bright, too perfect, press your ear to the ground. Mothers reminded sons, listen for the crystal chorus, welcome it even if it hurts. Yet with each generation the tales frayed. People repeated them at festivals more for entertainment than vigilance. Illusions like weeds flourish wherever memory grows lax. 6. The dawning of the present now comes our own era. One history has yet to name. The continents, hewn with circuits and holograms. Entire skylines exist only as projected scaffolds of photons. Cheaper to erect than steel. Citizens wear veil lenses. With absolute violence, that overlay custom scenery. Poverty disappears beneath pastel gardens. Conflict blurs into algorithmically generated harmony. People rent curated childhood memories to replace their own. The motto of the Global Consortium, Glimpse, states, "Perception is freedom." Lysandra Karem, junior custodian of the Quadrant Tablets, works in the catacombs beneath the Met Archive. She spends nights tracing the grooves of Ishrin's fennel-scented inscription, the crushed silk ribbons that once adorned Chien's throne, the flecks of desert glass fused to Tova's copper tablets. the soot embedded in Cohen's weather reports. She is the story's pulse, though even she doubts the cicadas will return. After all, she thinks, we have matured. Our illusions are recreational, consensual, hardly tyrannous. One afternoon, she notices hairline fractures spidering across the catacomb floor. By twilight, the fractures emit a faint chiming. She descends, hand lamp flickering. There, lodged between sedimentary layers, lies a translucent thorax no larger than her palm. Light pulses within it like trapped lightning. She consults seismic charts. Minor oscillations ripple exactly every 12 minutes, converging beneath megaplexes where Glimpse broadcasts its most immersive dreams. She recalls Kern's calculations and wonders if melody can be anticipated like an eclipse. The patterns whisper yes. Lysandra climbs the street to witness a city woven from simulacra. Neon koi glide above gutter water. Skyscrapers of light float where vacant lots gape. Children kick unreal soccer balls. Every passerby wears veil lenses. Without them, the world appears pallid, a skeletal frame of maintenance scaffolding. She hears the subterranean chiming grow louder, matching her pulse. Though fear pricks her ribs, she threads through crowds and sings a melody half-remembered from Kuhn's lullabies. At first, her voice warps under audio filters of passerby headsets, but resonance is stubborn. Others nearby pause, maybe because the tune reaches something unsimulated. They join, tentatively. Layers of voice rise, forming a lattice that descends through concrete. Beneath, crystal cicadas stir. They have evolved. Wings now contain filaments of rare earth metal, absorbing electromagnetic murmurs of servers overhead. They push upward, not through soil or water, but through fiber optic conduits, cracking them open like eggs. When they breach the surface, a silence as weighty as oceans sweeps the avenue. LED facades stutter. Holographic koi freeze mid-breach, then scatter into hexadecimal dust. Veil lenses go dark. Everyone wearing them confronts unadorned reality. The rusted reservoirs, the cracked pavement, the uncollected trash hidden by curated overlays. A collective gasp follows, raw and unprogrammed. The cicada's song pours into that gap. It vibrates along arterial cables, shattering illusions across continents in seconds. Offshore resorts built solely of projection blink out, revealing seaweed-choked platforms. In boardrooms, fake windows showing eternal sunset vanish, confronting executives with storms they denied. Global stock markets, whose graphs were tinted green by optimistic filters, display unvarnished numbers. Panic threatens to blossom into violence. Yet Lysandra stands in the city square, where light sculptures once pirouetted. She begins the oldest refrain. Reality is bitter root and wild honey. She recites Ishrin's lines about mirrors, Sanjuro's decree, Tova's laughter in desert sun, Maeve Hark's cough turned anthem. Others pick up phrases, knitting a new memory even as broken illusions settle like settling dust. The crystal cicadas, their task finished, fall silent. Their wings fade from quartz to coarse sand, disintegrating into the cracks of sidewalks. They will not sing again until new illusions accrete thick enough to choke truth. History suggests the cycle is inevitable, but cycles can lengthen given vigilance. Night descends without neon augmentation, and for the first time in decades, the populace can see stars. Cold, distant, unfiltered. Some weep, some cheer. Many simply stare, uncertain whether the sky itself is trustworthy. Lysandra knows doubt is healthy. She thinks of the quadrant tablets waiting below, of new tablets yet to be carved, of coming eras whose names are blank pages. She reminds herself and anyone who will listen that the cicadas are not guardians or judges, but instruments woven by the planet to periodically tune its dominant species back to honesty. In the days that follow, committees form to debate how much illusion, if any, the human spirit requires. Artists discover wonder in unpolished stone and unscripted conversations. Some citizens beg for their overlays back, frightened of ugly streets. and a few corporations promise safer, transparent simulations. But the memory of the crystal chorus lingers in eardrums. Enough people remember pain of revelation coupled with its strange euphoria to approach new filters warily. Lysandra returns to the catacombs. She chisels fresh words beside the old. In this fifth rising, the song found us swaddled in make-believe and shook us awake. Let whoever reads this know, illusions taste sweet but starve the marrow. She pauses, considering whether to add hope or warning, then decides they are the same. She sets down her chisel and, in the lingering quiet left by beings of glass and thunder, listens to the natural hum of air unshaped by speakers. Outside, the world experiments with honesty. Buildings remain skeletal for now, but scaffolding is promise, not deceit. People paint murals on concrete instead of hiding it behind holograms. Transplants of people getting knocks on concrete instead of hiding it behind holograms. In one alley, a child hums the lullaby that once aligned with cicada song. Another child harmonizes. Their notes ring pure, refracting moonlight off puddles. Far below, in chambers where tectonic plates whisper, dormant eggs glisten. Seeds for another era. They will wait, patient as bedrock, until illusions grow thick as fog again. But tonight, under unaltered stars, humanity breathes truth, raw and luminous, and the echo of crystal wings seems, for a heartbeat of cosmic time, enough to keep their eyes open.